I'm Laurie Brittagnol. I'm a senior curator here at Wellcome Collection, and I'm the co-curator of the In Plain Sight exhibition. Wellcome Collection is a free museum and library that's dedicated to health and the human experience. In Plain Sight explores the different ways we see, are seen, and the tools that shape how we view the world. It contains 144 objects that span ancient Egyptian Eye of Horus and go all the way to the present day with a contemporary VR experience called Notes on Blindness. We're here right now in the In Plain Sight exhibition. This is an artwork which looks at the motif of the Orthodox Greek votive called mati, which often are given to people to ward off ill health and the evil eye. And this is a kind of wearable armour containing hundreds of different stylized eyes, each containing a different pathogen or a virus. A suit of armour, if you like, to ward off ill health. It's made of copper and it has these raised features to it. So we started work on the exhibition in 2018. It was due to originally open in 2020, but because we knew we wanted to work really closely with tactility in the exhibition, a lot of the artworks can be touched. We had to sort of pause and park the project, and are now able to open it in 22 when tactility is much more possible and encouraged. So this is a section called 2020, which was interesting for us to kind of present a conversation around the construct of ideal vision in the middle of the 19th century. Both me and Lagai were really struck by learning that it's a midway point on the visual kind of spectrum, that it is, you know, people have a lot better than 2020 and a lot worse than 2020. So I guess we became interested in this idea of this scale. And we wanted, of course, to show the famous kind of Snellen chart, which many people are familiar with, but also situated that alongside a new work by an artist called Aaron McPeak, who is blind, and it's called Once I Saw It All, and he makes work that has a sonic and tactile element. So it's made from bell bronze, and you can ring it and feel the surface of it as well. So we were kind of looking at, if you like, different viewpoints on the Snellen chart. So this is a very early manuscript on ophthalmology by George Bartish, who's considered to be one of the sort of godfathers of ophthalmology. And it's a really well-preserved edition that we have in our library collections. And as you can see, the kind of colour has really intact because it's been so well preserved. This is, I think, open on a page that describes green cataracts. And there are other pages that, unfortunately, due to conservation reasons, we couldn't have it open, but they'll pop up and lift up. So I love this idea that in the kind of late 1500s, people were using kind of pop-up books. They didn't have indoor sanitation, but they had pop-up books, which I think is really interesting. We were also really interested in the fact that for many centuries the sort of medical community weren't completely supportive of the idea of glasses and lenses, and it took quite a long time for that to move out of a slightly kind of rogue trade into a kind of a medicalized and officially sanctioned system. Here we have an advert for eye snuff from the mid-1800s. So this idea that you could apply eye snuff to restore your eyesight. A review in the Lancet showed that it did not contain any tobacco, but it actually contained orris root, rosemary and lavender. And these are the Ideal Sight Restorer, which is a strange massage contraption, I believe. We also have a contemporary piece by an artist called Mima Etkin. There's a number of very ordinary objects, such as a dust cloth and cables you can move around the surface, and a camera linked to an algorithm tries to match what it's seeing with images from its database. So I guess what Mema was interested in asking us is inviting us to think about the different ways in which we are tasking machines to see for us, ever increasingly in the 21st century, but also how inaccuracies and misseeing can be built into those systems if they're not fed with accurate enough data sets. Me and Lagaia's journeys to some of these historic collections, including our own object collection that is held by the Science Museum, we had the opportunity to kind of go through drawer upon drawer of spectacles and lenses, some dating back to the early 1600s. And I think we were both really struck by how much this is a really ubiquitous form of assistive technology, but also it's so intertwined with a conversation around personal style and identity, and how these sometimes very small lenses really chart lots of major moments and changes in society, including things like industrial revolution, shift in working practices from kind of close up to long distance work. So all of these things kind of really struck us, that there is a lot of story and ideas about the developments in human societies that could be told through these little lenses. I think we realised quite quickly that we needed to go broader than just an exhibition about spectacles, and instead kind of zoom out to also ask questions around why sight has come to be so significant and interrogate some of the different ways in which we've been taught to see or need to see. This room's called Let Me Be Seen, and we were really interested in exploring conversation as eyewear and the performance of status. So here we have a group of contemporary frames by a company called Black Eyewear, but they refer to famous jazz musicians who would wear spectacles at night. We wanted to refer to a conversation around the performance of eccentricity when it comes to eyewear. So we have the collaboration between Iris Apfel and Zenny, which Iris designed with the company on her 97th birthday. I was also so fascinated to learn how long it took to work out the need to put arms on the side of glasses. So for many centuries, lots of different things were tried, such as this late 1700s pair of Japanese wooden spectacles that have strings that you would tie onto the back of the head, a pair of pince-nez or a pair that would sit on the bridge of the nose, pinch the bridge of the nose, or this pair in the early 1700s that you would hold up to the face. The fact that it took so long to work out putting arms on the side of spectacles, and these are some of the early beginnings of where they could grip the side of the head, and they were nearly there, and then they worked out that you could rest them above the ears. We worked really closely with sighted, partially sighted and blind people to both shape the content and the design of the exhibition, and really try and invite audiences to explore what it might mean to see in different ways. This is a work by the artist Carmen Papalia. In this film, he leaves his cane and instead works with a high school marching band who help him navigate the city. So they worked collaboratively together with the marching bands using up-tempo and down-tempo notes to evoke step changes and obstacles in his path. And I thought it was a really interesting way to end the exhibition on a conversation around a social seeing, or a kind of collaborative act of seeing together. We're here at the Wellcome Collection at the In Plain Sight exhibition, which is an exhibition that's open till the 12th of February and is free.